It's time to be that guy. You know who I'm talking about. The one who shows up when it's uncomfortable. The one who makes the hard call, not because it's easy, but because it's right. The one who doesn't wait around for someone else to lead, but steps forward when everyone else steps back. That guy who doesn't just talk about standards, but lives by them when no one is watching. Be the guy who shows up when it's uncomfortable, who leads when others step back, and who lives by his standards even when no one is watching. That doesn't mean waiting for the perfect conditions. It means standing in the middle of the storm and saying, I'm here. It means showing up when you're tired, when you're stretched, when you'd rather stay home, when no one would blame you for quitting, but you still show up. People think leadership is about titles, about recognition, about standing at the front of the room. But leadership starts with showing up when it's inconvenient. It's when there's no spotlight, no applause, and no one lining up to thank you. It's when the room is silent and all eyes are looking for someone to step forward, and you decide to move, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. That's the kind of man people remember, not for what he said, but for what he did when it mattered most. When others step back, when people avoid the pressure, when they let fear or doubt paralyze them, be the guy who leans forward into it. Courage is not about the absence of fear. It's about acting in spite of it. Everyone feels it. Everyone has that knot in their stomach when things are uncertain. But being that guy means taking the step anyway. It means you don't let fear be your decision maker. It means you don't hide behind excuses or wait for the perfect timing that never comes. You put your foot down and decide that moving forward imperfectly is better than standing still comfortably. When you do that, you set the tone for everyone around you. You give permission for others to find courage in themselves. You become the example they needed to see. And once you've been that example, people trust you differently. They don't just hear your words, they watch your actions, and those actions echo louder than anything you could ever say. Living by your standards when no one is watching is what defines real character. Anybody can behave when people are paying attention. Anybody can pretend when the cameras are on or when the boss is in the room. But being that guy means holding yourself to a standard that doesn't depend on who's around. It means you don't cut corners just because you think no one will notice. It means you don't betray your values just because no one is keeping score. Integrity is doing the right thing when it's invisible. It's following through on promises you made to yourself, the ones that no one else knows about, the ones you could easily dismiss without consequence. But you don't dismiss them because you know your word matters even to yourself. When you consistently live that way, you create a foundation of trust that nothing can shake. People begin to realize that you are steady, reliable, and real, and in a world full of shortcuts and half-truths, that makes you stand out. Showing up when it's uncomfortable also means showing up for others when they need you most, not just when it benefits you. It means being present in the lives of the people who count on you. Sometimes it's not about the grand gestures, it's about the quiet presence, the willingness to listen, the consistency of being there. The world is full of people who are there only when it's convenient. Being that guy means you're different. You're the one who makes the call, who shows up to help, who stands by a friend in silence, who doesn't disappear when things get messy. And it's in those moments that people begin to realize your presence is not conditional, your loyalty is not situational. It's steady. And that steadiness is rare. To lead when others step back doesn't mean you have to be loud. It doesn't mean you always have to be in front. Sometimes leadership is quiet. Sometimes it's making the tough choice no one else is willing to make. Sometimes it's putting yourself last so others can move forward. Sometimes it's holding the line when others are willing to compromise. It's not about seeking attention. It's about taking responsibility. That's what separates real leadership from empty talk. Anyone can talk about values. Anyone can post about discipline. Anyone can pretend to be strong when there's no test. But when the test comes, when things fall apart, that's when the truth comes out. That's when people see if you're really that guy or if you were just pretending. Living by your standards when no one is watching also means setting boundaries that others may not understand. It means choosing discipline over comfort. It means waking up early to do the work no one claps for. It means saying no to the distractions everyone else indulges in. It means protecting your time, your health, your values, even when people don't get it. And the reality is, they won't always get it. They might laugh, they might question, they might misunderstand. But your standards are not for their approval, they are for your direction. They are the compass that keeps you aligned when the world is trying to pull you in every direction. And when people finally see the results of your consistency, they will understand what discipline built in silence. Being that guy doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch you flip. It's a choice you make every single day. It's built in small decisions, the ones that seem insignificant in the moment. Choosing to show up when you don't feel like it. Choosing to push through discomfort instead of retreating. Choosing to hold yourself accountable when no one else will. Every small choice is a brick, and those bricks build the foundation of who you are. And before long, people will look at you and realize that you're not just consistent, you're dependable. You're not just present, you're trustworthy. You're not just disciplined, you're strong. And all of that started with small choices when no one was looking. And here's the truth. Being that guy isn't about perfection. It's not about never failing. It's about showing up again after failure. It's about admitting mistakes and owning them. It's about falling short but refusing to stay down. It's about being honest enough to acknowledge when you're wrong and strong enough to correct it. That kind of humility combined with consistency is what creates real influence. People don't follow perfection, they follow authenticity. And authenticity is born from living your standards consistently, not flawlessly. Be the guy who takes ownership, breaks excuses, and sets a new standard by how he lives, not by what he says. Ownership means you stop pointing fingers, you stop shifting blame, you stop pretending that life is happening to you and start realizing that life is responding to you. When something goes wrong, it's easy to say it was someone else's fault. It's easy to explain why the circumstances weren't fair. It's easy to stack excuses on top of each other until you've built yourself a wall so high that no responsibility can climb over it. But being that guy means tearing the wall down. It means saying, if it's in my life, then I own it. If I made a mistake, I admit it. If I failed, I don't hide it. If something is broken, I look at how I contributed to it instead of waiting for someone else to fix it. That mindset shifts everything. People start to see you as reliable, as grounded, as someone who isn't afraid of truth. Ownership is the foundation of growth because until you own it, you can't change it. Breaking excuses is about realizing how easy it is to let yourself off the hook. Excuses are comfortable. Excuses let you sleep in when you said you'd wake up early. Excuses let you skip the workout, miss the call, put off the hard conversation. Excuses feel like relief in the moment, but they're chains in the long run. Being that guy means you stop tolerating your own excuses. You stop giving yourself permission to shrink back from what you said you would do. You treat your own word like a contract. If you said you would do it, then you do it, even if the motivation is gone, even if the conditions aren't ideal, even if no one is watching. Excuses lose their power the moment you decide that you will act in spite of them. Discipline is born when you stop negotiating with yourself and start demanding follow-through. That's how standards are built, not in what you say you believe in, but in what you consistently choose to do. Setting a new standard by how you live, not by what you say, is the difference between being noise and being influence. Words are easy. Anyone can talk about discipline, hard work, loyalty, leadership. Anyone can sound motivated for a moment, but words without action are empty. They impress for a day, but they don't last. What lasts is the example people can see. When they watch how you move, when they see your consistency, when they notice that you do the right thing without having to announce it, that's when they believe you. You set a new standard by being living proof of what you talk about. You set a new standard when people start to realize that you don't just post about sacrifice, you actually sacrifice. You don't just talk about accountability, you actually hold yourself accountable. You don't just preach discipline, you actually practice it when no one is clapping. That is what separates people who talk from people who lead. Taking ownership also means stepping up in the little things. It's easy to think ownership is only about the big moments, but it's just as much about the small ones. It's about keeping your space clean without being told being on time because you respect other people's time, following through on commitments, even when they're inconvenient. These aren't small because they shape the way people see you. If you can't be trusted with the little things, why would anyone trust you with the big ones? But when you consistently show ownership in every area, no matter how small, you create a reputation that precedes you. People know you as dependable, as someone who doesn't cut corners, as someone whose actions match his words. That kind of trust is rare, and it's built day by day through ownership. Breaking excuses also means facing discomfort. Excuses are a way to escape discomfort. They sound like, I'm too tired, I don't have the resources, I'll start tomorrow. But there will always be a reason not to start, not to push, not to change. If you wait for the conditions to be perfect, you'll never begin. Being that guy means you stop waiting for the right mood, the right time, the right setup. You start with what you have, where you are, and you keep moving forward. Progress doesn't come from ideal conditions. It comes from consistent effort in imperfect ones. That's how people grow. That's how habits form. That's how discipline becomes second nature. Every time you break an excuse, you build resilience. Every time you silence the voice telling you to quit, you make it easier to keep going next time. Living in a way that sets a new standard is about creating impact without having to announce it. The strongest men don't have to remind people who they are. Their presence, their actions, their consistency speak for them. Being that guy means you don't have to demand respect. You earn it through how you live. People notice when you stay calm under pressure. They notice when you own your mistakes instead of hiding them. They notice when you choose principle over convenience. They notice when you put in the work long after everyone else has given up. You don't need to tell them who you are. They see it. And that silent influence is more powerful than any words you could ever say. Ownership also means refusing to be a victim. Life will test you. People will hurt you. Circumstances will knock you down. But being that guy means you don't let those things define you. You don't build your identity around what happened to you. You build it around how you responded. Victimhood keeps you stuck, but ownership moves you forward. It says, I can't control what happened, but I can control what I do next. That mindset is what builds strength, what builds confidence, what builds resilience. And when people see that in you, they realize that strength is not about what you avoided. It's about what you endured and overcame. Breaking excuses also requires honesty. Excuses often sound reasonable. They often sound like good reasons. But deep down, you know the difference between a reason and an excuse. Being that guy means you stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending you don't have time when you waste hours scrolling. You stop saying you're too tired when you know you didn't give your best effort. You stop saying you'll start tomorrow when you know tomorrow is just another way to avoid today. Honesty with yourself is the beginning of growth. You can't fix what you're not willing to face. And when you finally face it, when you finally stop hiding behind words, that's when you can begin to change. Setting a new standard by how you live is about legacy. One day people won't remember your speeches, your posts, or your motivational words. They'll remember how you lived. They'll remember if you were present, if you were disciplined, if you were consistent. They'll remember if you kept your promises, if you were someone they could rely on, if your actions matched your words. That memory, that impact becomes your standard passed on to others. And when you've lived that way long enough, people around you begin to rise to the standard you set, not because you told them to, but because you showed them how. That's real leadership. That's real influence. And that's what it means to be that guy who doesn't just talk, but lives in a way that makes others want to follow.